The human body requires energy to maintain life and good health. It must have the means to grow from childhood through to adulthood and to repair itself on a daily basis throughout life. If you intend to become active, you may need to make modest adjustments in your diet. Since every mile you walk or jog requires at least 100 calories of energy, you will need to consume sufficient fuel for this to happen. In particular, you will need to take in enough protein, which in the form of amino acids is used to build tissue, produce energy, and develop strength. It is widely accepted today that in order to be healthy people, we need to eat a healthy, balanced diet. Yet despite this widely accepted principle, it is difficult to determine exactly what this is. Healthy eating can be defined as food intake that promotes the correct and optimal operation of the structures and systems of the human body. The word balance suggests that food of all different types are eaten in certain amounts and levels that keep the body operating, ideally close to optimal level. On the table in front of you is 4 commonly used terms. See if you can put a definition to those terms.
Pause the video. So the word diet actually means food intake and habits that are current for the individual. So that's the food you eat. Healthy eating, that means promotes optimal function of the body. So you're eating foods that are going to promote the body to function as efficiently as it should. The word nutrition means the nutrients required for optimal health. So the food we need to eat, to consume, to ensure that the body works healthily and optimal function. A balanced diet means foods of all different types, eaten in the right quantities to maintain optimal functioning level. So each of these words interlinks to each other, but the word diet is often taken out of context, and people use the word diet when they're talking about losing weight. But the reality is, the diet is the food or the habits of eating that you currently do.
Now the word diet has become synonymous with cutting back, restriction and deprivation of food in order to effect physical change. However, diet is in fact the food intake and the habits that are current for any individual. We all have a diet, but our food intake can be very considerable and therefore may not necessarily be healthy and balanced or providing adequate nutrients. A balanced diet requires adequate water intake alongside food chosen in varying amounts from 5 nutrient groups. These groups are in turn divided into macronutrients and micronutrients. So macronutrients are carbohydrates, proteins and fats, and they provide us with energy. And the micronutrient group are the vitamins and minerals. These release and optimize energy and function. During the following lessons on nutrition, the various nutrient groups and their individual and collective effects upon the body will be examined. So the purpose of these lessons, however, is to introduce the relationship between the quality of the food in our diet and the overall health of the individual. Plants use the sun's energy to grow, after which they often serve as food for animals. We humans get our energy in the form of carbohydrate, fat and protein from plants and animal sources. When you eat and digest food, you absorb fuel into the bloodstream, which transports it to cells throughout your body. You then use enzymes in your metabolic pathways to convert the fuel into high energy compounds that power your muscles and other cellular activities. As long as you are alive, you are constantly expending at least some energy. Even if you did nothing at all but lie in bed for 24 hours, you would use about 1,600 calories. Well, you will if you weigh 154 pounds or 70 kilograms, which would be used to power your heart and respiratory muscles, fuel your cellular metabolism, and maintain your body temperature. But what if you use this time in bed to engage in some hard thinking? Maybe tackling a work problem, planning your garden for next spring, or pondering an ethical dilemma you have been avoiding. Perhaps surprisingly, this deep thinking would increase your energy use only slightly. But if you began to move around physically, your energy expenditure would increase dramatically. In fact, if you engage in vigorous effort, your calorie expenditure can rocket up from 1.2 calories per minute when you're at rest to more than 20 calories per minute. Walking burns about 5 calories per minute, jogging burns about 10, and running burns more than 15, depending on the speeds that you go and your metabolism. The point here is that physical activity has the greatest effect on energy needs. Diet alone is not the way to lose body fat. We need to link the two together, so a healthy balanced diet and physical activity to either maintain or lose weight. The food that we eat will become part of the body, as it is used to rebuild or repair vital structures on an ongoing basis. So the phrase, "you are what you eat," has much truth in it. However, we do not digest everything that we eat, as some components of our food will be excreted. So more correctly, you are what you eat, but don't excrete. Food which is not used for this building up of structural parts of the body will either contribute to the body's normal chemical functions or be utilised as fuel to sustain life and activity levels. A continual excess of energy consumption will be stored, mostly in the form of body fat, and will therefore also contribute to eventual body mass. Throughout the human body, a relationship exists between both structure and function. Indeed, it can be said that structure dictates function. This point remains central even to nutrition, whereby the quality of food within the diet and the specific chemical composition of that food have a profound effect upon the structure and function of the human body at its most fundamental levels. Within every cell, it requires carbs, fats and proteins to function. Looking at protein within the cell, it utilises a substance called actin. Actin is the protein element that gives, if you like, a fibre, a muscle, its strength. So a cell becomes multiple where it becomes tissues. In this instance of utilising protein, it becomes a fibre. Those fibres become muscles, or it could be a heart, it could be a lung, an organ, but in this case it's muscles. Within every organ there'll be a system, and that's things like the skeletal system, nervous system, digestive system, etc, etc, etc. But based off protein, it becomes the muscular system. And it's only when all these systems are put together do we end up with a human body. So the food we eat has a direct relationship to the organisation of life and how we in ourselves feel, and we come back to that, we are what we eat. In the UK, we have adopted the original food pyramid and underpinning guidance to follow what is called the Eat Well plate instead. This simple guidance model in its current form was introduced in 2007, though earlier versions existed prior to this. It provides an alternative illustration of the similar basic guidelines around food and nutrition found within the US pyramid. Whilst the illustration itself is very simplistic and provides less descriptive guidance than the pyramid, the guideline documents behind the national model provide some more direct advice.
The Eat Well plate is also supported by 8 specific healthy eating tips as stated by the food standards agencies. And they are: base your meals on starchy foods. Eat lots of fruit and vegetables, so you're looking at your 5 portions per day. Eat more fish. 2 portions a week need to be consumed, and one of those portions needs to be an oily fish. Cut down on saturated fat and sugar. So try and, if you can, go away from processed foods. Try to eat less salt, no more than 6 grams a day. And to be fair, there's enough salt comes from your food itself than to have to consume any. Get active and try to be a healthy weight. Drink plenty of water, so 6 to 8 glasses per day. And don't skip breakfast. Breakfast is one of the most important meals of the day because you've just fasted right through the night. So a male needs to consume 2,550 calories per day on average. Females, 1,950 calories per day on average. Now a minimum of 50% of those calories needs to come from carbohydrates, because carbohydrates is what fuels us really. A maximum of 35% of those calories needs to come from fats. And a minimum of 55 grams of protein per day, which is 9 to 12% of the calories, obviously going to come from protein. Now that is dictated by how much you train and your lean muscle mass. Further in the program, I'm going to talk about how to calculate your carbohydrate intake, protein intake, fat intake specifically. But to do that, you need to have an understanding of how many calories something gives you. Now, carbohydrates give you 4 calories per gram. Protein gives you 4 calories per gram as well. Fats, however, give you 9 calories per gram, and that is something significant to think about. And alcohol, which, alright, it's not a nutrient, but we all seem to want to have a tipple of it, gives you 7 calories per gram that you take in. This table is a summary of all the different nutrients. So you've got the non-calories on the right, which are all your vitamins and minerals, and then your calories on the left, basically carbohydrates, fats and proteins, and what they break down into. So if you wish to read this further or look at it further, pause the video now. So, something for you to think about, a little task to try and do. Determine what a portion size would be for each of the following foods. So you're going to sit down to a meal, or you're going to sit down to eat some of these foods. What would you actually consider it to be a portion size? Pause the video now while you think about it. So fruit would be 2 satsumas, 2 plums, 2 kiwis or 7 strawberries would be a recommended portion size. Vegetables: green veg, 2 broccoli spears, salad veg, 3 sticks of celery, cooked veg, 3 heaped tablespoons of carrots. Bread, 1 slice, and 1 slice only. That's not one that you've cut yourself, that's one that's already been pre-cut. Lean meat, the size of a deck of cards. A small cup of milk. And 1 small to medium potato. These are what would be classed as a portion size. Food for thought, I hope, because if we look at our portion sizes, do they replicate this? Diet significantly influences your athletic performance, and a diet that provides adequate energy from a wide range of commonly available foods can meet the carbohydrate, fat and protein and micronutrient requirements of training and, if you go into it, competition. That is the little end of this little lesson on an introduction to nutrients. Further lessons coming up will be based around the individuals, but our next lesson is going to be about good food.